Okay. All right. Take me out to the ball game. Well, I guess. Hey, we're going to sing that later on. All right. Hello. Hello, everybody. Yeah, hello. I'm Adult Services Librarian Paul Sevilla, and I'm a Giants fan. Yeah. I like the A's too. I like the A's too. You know. And I'm delighted to welcome you all to tonight's program, all about the rich and diverse history of America's pastime. But before we begin, I'd like to ask if you could please put your cell phones or mobile devices on silent or vibrate. That way it won't interrupt the game. Thank you. So if you haven't already done so, pick up a program at the back that we can follow along. I would like to thank Encore Players for putting this together, as well as the wonderful volunteers from Sandia and Lawrence Livermore National Lab. Yeah, thank you. All right. And now, without further ado, please welcome the director of tonight's program, Donna Blevins.
You can hold your thunderous applause for everyone till the very end. It's a long program, and we'll be here for a long time if you applaud in between. Otherwise, somebody asked me why we're doing baseball, so I will just quote George F. Will, commentator and author, who said, "People say baseball is only a game. True. And the Grand Canyon is only a hole in Arizona." So since this is about diversity, about myself, I was raised on baseball, watching it with my father in New York State, where we emigrated from Poland. He was a Yankees fan, but we also watched the rival Red Sox because Karl Jastrzębski played for them, and he was Polish like us. My father was unhappy when the Brooklyn Dodgers and New York Giants moved west in 1957. Basically, he just liked baseball. This program is a mix of baseball facts, memories, and nostalgia, all of which makes baseball, and not football, the national pastime. And to warm us up, we have Bill.
This is what it's all about. Would you hold this for me, please? Well, baseball is different from any other sport. Yeah, it's really quite different, and George Carlin explains some of the differences. In most sports, the ball is put in play by the offensive team. In baseball, the defensive team puts the ball in play, and only the defense is allowed to touch the ball. If the ball touches an offensive player, he's out. The ball prevents you from scoring. In most sports, the team is run by a coach. In baseball, the team is run by a manager, and only in baseball does this person wear the same uniform as the players. If you've ever seen John Madden in his open uniform, you know the reason for this tradition. Baseball and football are the two most popular spectator sports in the country, and as such, they should be able to tell us something about ourselves and our values. Baseball is played on a diamond, in a park, in a baseball park. Football is played on a gridiron in a stadium, maybe called Soldier Field or War Memorial Stadium. Baseball begins in the spring, the season of new life. Football begins in the fall when everything is dying. In football, you wear a helmet. In baseball, you wear a cap. Football is concerned with downs. What down is it? Baseball is concerned with ups. Who's up? In football, you receive a penalty. In baseball, you make an error. In football, the specialist comes in to kick. In baseball, the specialist comes in to relieve somebody. Football is hitting, clipping, piling on, personal fouls, unnecessary roughness. Baseball has the sacrifice. Football is played in any kind of weather, rain, snow, sleet. In baseball, if it rains, we don't go out to play. Baseball has a 7-inning stretch. Football has the 2-minute warning. Baseball has no time limit. We don't know when the game's going to end. It might go into extra innings. Football is rigidly timed and will end even if we've got to go to sudden death. And finally, the objective of the two games are completely different. In football, the object is for the quarterback, also known as the field general, to be on target with his aerial pursuit, riddling the defense by hitting his receivers with deadly accuracy in spite of the blitz, even if he has to use shotgun. With short bullet passes and long bombs, he marches his troops into enemy territory, balancing this aerial assault with a sustained ground attack that punches holes in the enemy's defensive line. In baseball, the object is to go home, to be safe. Let's all be safe at home.
Baseball has long been a favorite pastime of Japanese Americans, going back to the first generation immigrants in the 1920s. It was a means to get involved in their new communities and stay connected with other immigrants. One of the pioneers of Japanese American baseball was Kenichi Zenimura, who played all 9 positions. Born in Hiroshima, he was based in Fresno and helped organize teams and tours of Japan, including Babe Ruth's tour in 1934. With the entry of the United States into the World War II, the federal government ordered over 100,000 Japanese Americans living on the West Coast to be forcibly removed from their homes and relocated to internment camps in desolate areas. In every camp, internees attempted to counter the boredom and harsh conditions by developing thriving activities. Baseball, in particular, provided a much-needed diversion. As historian George Amachi recalled, it was demeaning and humiliating to be incarcerated in your own country. Without baseball, camp life would have been miserable.
When you think of Japanese baseball players in today's MLB, the first person who likely comes to mind is Shohei Ohtani. Growing up in Japan and coached by his father, he was known as Yaku Shonen, or the kid who lives, eats, and breathes baseball. In 2018, Ohtani was recruited from the Nippon Pacific League by the Los Angeles Angels, where he is a two-way player taking on positions of pitcher and designated hitter. Already into his short MLB career, he's won countless accolades, including American League Rookie of the Year. He made history by becoming the first player selected as an all-star for both hitting and pitching. Ohtani is the first Asian player to be the cover star of the MLB The Show video game, as well as the first Asian athlete to be featured on the cover of a video game in the United States. In 2021, he was offered the People's Honor Award by the Prime Minister of Japan. However, at 26 years old, Ohtani declined it, saying it was still too early for such an award. I was fortunate to be present in Oakland in 2018 when he played his first MLB game as a designated hitter and returned 3 days later to watch his MLB pitching debut. I may be an Oakland A's fan, but it's exciting watching Ohtani change the face of baseball both on the field and for the fans in the stands.
Let's talk about the Negro League. The Negro League was comprised of African American and some Latin American players. At the end of the Civil War, teams mainly of ex-soldiers were formed in Philadelphia. The first known game was held in New York in 1859, and the first professional team was called the Cuban Giants. In 1927, the American National League was formed and joined by an icon of baseball, Satchel Paige. His career spanned 5 decades. Paige was 59 years old when he played his last major league game, which is a record that stands to this day. The Baseball Hall of Fame planned a separate but equal display. This plan was criticized by the press, by the fans, and by the players it was intended to honor. And Satchel Paige himself said that he would not accept anything less than full-fledged induction. The Hall relented, and in 1971, Satchel Paige was one of 9 inducted. Hank Aaron was the last former Negro League player to hold a regular position in the Major League.
In 2008, Major League Baseball held a special draft of the surviving Negro League players to acknowledge and to rectify their exclusion on the basis of race. Each Major League team drafted 1 player. Among those drafted by the New York Yankees was Emilio Navarro, the first Puerto Rican to play in the Negro League. At 102 years of age, at the time of the draft, he believed to be the oldest living professional ball player.
So we're up to the 1930s and 40s now. Hank Greenberg, the Hebrew Hammer. He was a member of the Baseball Hall of Fame, 2-time MVP award winner. He played first base with the Detroit Tigers and is widely considered one of the greatest sluggers in baseball history. Now, Hank was one of the first Jewish superstars in any American team sport. In 1934, he attracted national attention in the middle of a pennant race when he had to decide whether to play on 2 major Jewish holidays. He announced that he would not play on either Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year, nor on Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. Woo! This was not popular with Detroit fans. These holidays come every year, but the Tigers haven't won a pennant since 1909. Greenberg did considerable soul-searching and discussed the matter with his rabbi. Now, we'd love to have a copy of that transcript, but as a result, Greenberg agreed to play on Rosh Hashanah, but not on Yom Kippur. On Rosh Hashanah, Hank hit 2 home runs in a 2-1 Tiger victory over Boston. And the next day, the Detroit Free Press ran the Hebrew lettering for Happy New Year across its front page. Columnist and poet Edgar Guest expressed the public's opinion in a poem called Speaking of Greenberg, in which he inserted the Irish, and thus Catholic, names Murphy and Mulrooney. His poem ends with these lines. Spent the day among his people and didn't come to play, said Murphy to Mulrooney, we shall lose the game today. We shall miss him on the infield, we'll miss him at the bat, but he's true to his religion and I honor him for that. Now, Hank Greenberg endured his share of anti-Semitic abuse in his career. When Jackie Robinson came to the major leagues in 1947, Hank was one of the few players to publicly welcome him.
Jackie Robinson, number 42. He broke the color barrier, ending 60 years of segregation when he had made his debut as the first African-American player. As a Negro League, he was signed by Branch Rickey of the Brooklyn Dodgers in 1947 to play first base. There was no law banning blacks from baseball, only a recognized unwritten rule. And Branch Rickey knew that Robinson would face racism and discrimination, and he made it clear in their momentous first meeting that he anticipated resistance from both inside and outside of baseball, right, by opening the doors to black players. You want a player who doesn't want to fight back? Who doesn't have the guts to fight back?
No, I want a player who's got the guts not to fight back. People aren't going to like this. They're going to do anything to get you to react.
You echo a curse with a curse, and they'll only hear yours, and they'll say, that Negro lost his temper. That Negro does not belong. Your enemy will go out in force, and you cannot meet him on his own low ground. We win with hitting, running, fielding, only that. We win if the world is convinced of two things: that you are a fine gentleman and a great baseball player. You gotta have the guts to turn the other cheek. Can you do it?
You give me the uniform, you give me the number on my back, and I'll give you the guts. I don't care if they don't like me. I didn't come here to make friends. I don't even care if they respect me. I know who I am. I got enough respect for myself. And I don't want them to beat me.
He's a Methodist. I'm a Methodist. God is a Methodist. We can't go wrong.
Jackie Robinson was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1962. Major League Baseball has honored him many times over the years. The Rookie of the Year award was renamed Jackie Robinson Award in honor of him being the first recipient in 1947.
In 1997, Robinson's jersey number 42 was retired throughout Major League Baseball, the first time any jersey number has been retired.
He is quoted as saying, "There is not an American in this country free until every one of us is free." Life is not a spectator sport. If you're going to spend your whole life in the grandstands just watching what goes on, in my opinion, you're wasting your life.
Wait until next year was the unofficial Brooklyn Dodgers slogan in the 1950s. Pulitzer Prize-winning historian Doris Kearns Goodwin shares a memory of a young girl raised on baseball. I opened the curtain and entered the confessional, a dark wooden booth built into the side wall of the church. As I knelt on the small worn bench, the panel slid open on my side, and the priest directed his attention to me.
Yes, my child.
Bless me, Father, for I have sinned. This is my first confession.
Yes, my child. What sins have you committed?
I talked in church 20 times. I disobeyed my mother 5 times. I wished harm to others several times. And I talked back to my teacher twice.
And to whom did you wish harm?
My scheme had failed. He picked out the one group of sins that most troubled me. I wished harm to Allie Reynolds.
The Yankees pitcher? And how did you wish to harm him?
I wanted to break his arm.
And how often did you make this wish?
Every night before going to bed in my prayers.
And there were others?
Oh, yes. I wished Robert Roberts of the Phillies would fall on the steps of his stoop and that Rishi Ashburn would break his hand.
Is there anything else?
Yes. I wished Enos Slaughter of the Cards would break his ankle, that Phil Rizzuto of Yanks would fracture a rib, and that Alvin Dark of the Giants would hurt his knee. I wished that all these injuries would go away once the season ended.
Are there any other sins, my child?
No, Father.
For your penance, say 3 Hail Marys, 3 Our Fathers, and say a special prayer for the Dodgers.
Did you know that neither the author nor the composer of Take Me Out to the Ballgame had attended a baseball game prior to writing the song? It's interesting, isn't it? Jack Norworth, while riding a subway train to Manhattan in 1908, was inspired by a sign that said, "Baseball Today, Polo Grounds." He wrote the lyrics on some scrap papers about a gal named Katie Casey, whose beau calls to ask her out to see a show. She accepts the date, but only if her date will take her out to the baseball game. Norworth provided these paper scrap lyrics to Albert von Teiser, who composed the music, which in turn was published by the York Music Company, and before the year was over, a hit song was born. The chorus to this song has become the unofficial anthem of North American baseball, but in fact, Norworth and von Teiser saw their first Major League Baseball games 32 and 20 years later after the writing of the song. The song was first played at a ballpark for the first known time in 1934 at a high school game in Los Angeles, then later that year during the 4th game of the 1934 World Series. Now this chorus is traditionally sung during the middle of the 7th inning. Does anyone know what inning it's sung when a doubleheader is played? No? 5th inning. So during the 5th, so I'm assuming they sang it twice, right? Okay. So that's the 5th inning. Now this is the audience participation portion, that's hard to say, of the evening, and I want all of you to stand up and get in the baseball rooting spirit for our 7th inning stretch. I have volunteers who are here to help me, who have wrangled to help me keep this part interactive, so be ready as we sing it. But before we officially sing it, let's go over the chorus, okay? Take me out to the ball game, take me out to the crowd, buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jacks. I don't care if I never get back. Let me root for the home team. If they don't win, it's a shame. For it's 1, 2, 3, stretch your out of the old ball game. Now, 2 things. Stay standing up. When we sing it, if you want to replace the word home team with your favorite team, do that. It's going to sound.
Yeah, not you, Bob.
It's going to sound crazy, but it'll be fun. And then remember, I also have to have motions to a song. 1, 2, 3 times you're out. 3 strikes you're out. When I was first doing this, I was practicing. I go 1, 2, 3 times you're out. I go, oh no, that's not the song. Okay, so I am going to sing the original verses that were sung, and then you guys are going to join me in the chorus, okay? Okay. Katie Casey was baseball mad, had the fever and had it bad, just to root for the hometown crew every Sue. Katie Blue. On a Saturday, her young beau called to see if she'd like to go to see a show. But Miss Kate said, no, I'll tell you what you can do. Here we go. Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jacks. I don't care if I never get back for his root for the Giants. It's a shame, for it's 1, 2, 3 strikes you're out at the old ball game. The second verse. Katie Casey saw all the games, knew the players by their first names, told the umpire he was wrong all along, good and strong. When the score was just 2-2, Katie Casey knew what to do. Just to cheer up the boys she knew, she made the gang sing this song. Here we go. Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jacks. I don't care if I ever get back, 'cause it's root for the Giants. If they don't win, it's a shame. For it's 1, 2, 3 strikes you're out at the old ball game. Cracker Jacks! You guys are great.
By the fall of 1942, young men were being drafted into the armed services. World War II threatened to shut down baseball, so Chicago Cubs owner Walter Harvey persuaded fellow owners to bankroll a women's league. The All-Americans Girls Professional Baseball League was founded by Philip K. Winston. Over 200 women were invited to try out, and about 60 were selected based on their skill play. They were tested on their field positions, throwing, catching, running, sliding, and hitting. At the end of the day, no one wanted to answer the phone for fear of being told that they had to pack and go home. To those who survived the cut, they were assigned to professional league contracts. The salaries were high for these players. Some were as young as 15. In many cases, they were making more than their parents. The girls' league, like the men's league, was also informally segregated, thus no African American was recruited or hired. A small number of Latinas were recruited because they were fair-skinned enough to pass for white. The best known was Margie Villa, a Mexican-American descent from California. Her records of run batted in and bases stolen in one game is an all-time record.
In addition to skilled play, wholesome femininity, and the image of an all-American girl next door was a high priority. During spring training, the girls were required to attend charm school classes. Proper etiquette, personal hygiene, and dress codes were presented. The emphasis was to make bright stars of each player by integrating the Healthy Mind and Healthy Body program. Each girl received a beauty kit and instructions on how to use it. The arts of walking, sitting, speaking, applying makeup, and social skills were all in the program. They were not permitted to have short hair. They were not permitted to smoke or drink in public places. And they were not allowed to wear pants. And they were required to wear lipstick at all times. The women's contracts were much stricter about behavior than in the men's league, and each team was assigned its own chaperone by the league.
In 1944, Weasley lost interest in the girls' league, and he sold it to Chicago advertising enterprise executive Arthur Meyerhoff, who promoted the league to its peak. In 1945, everything was going well for the war and for the league. Patriotic fans and family were turning out in large numbers to the ballpark. The emphasis changed and charm school was discontinued. The girls played exhibition games at army camps and veterans hospitals. They went into hospitals and spoke to the wounded soldiers before and after the games. Several of the players had husbands and brothers overseas. This war effort brought a lot of positive publicity to the league. The All-Americans celebrated the end of World War II on August 14, 1945, at the ballpark.
However, attendance declined in the following years. In 1955, when the league was unable to continue, its history and its significance were forgotten by baseball historians. Many people in the 1950s thought that women were not supposed to play baseball. The players themselves felt overlooked. "We would rather play ball than eat," insisted catcher LaVon Pepper Pear. "We put our hearts and souls into this league.
We felt we were keeping up our country's morale."
Finally, in 1980, former pitcher and first basewoman June Peppas organized a reunion with friends, teammates, and opponents in Chicago. A petition was circulated to get the Baseball Hall of Fame to recognize the All-American Girls Baseball League. In November 1988, a permanent Women in Baseball exhibit was added to the Cooperstown Hall of Fame.
The All-Americans Girls Professional Baseball League gave over 600 women athletes the opportunity to play professionally baseball and played on a level that has never been attained before. In 1948, the league attendance peaked at over 900,000 spectators. The league represents one of the most unique aspects of our nation's baseball history.
A league of their own in 1992. The most successful team, the Rockford Peaches, won 4 championships. The 1992 film, The League of Their Own, is a fictionalized account of the early days of the league and its players. But in the early days, players were not always taken seriously. In the film, the Peaches were managed by former star Cub slugger Jimmy Dugan, a cynical alcoholic. who treated the whole thing as a joke and was abrasive toward his players.
Evelyn, could you come here? You got a second? Which team do you play for?
Well, I'm a peach.
Well, I was just wondering why you throw home when we got a 2-run lead. You let the tying run score on second base and we lost the game because of you. Start using your head. That's that lump that's 3 feet above your ass. Are you crying? Are you crying?
There's no crying.
There's no crying in baseball.
Why don't you give her a break, Jimmy?
Oh, why don't you sip it, Doris? Roger Hornsby was my manager. He called me a talking pile of pig shit. And that was when my parents drove all the way down from Michigan to see me. And did I cry?
No.
Yeah, no! And you know why?
No.
Because there's no crying in baseball. No. There's no crying in baseball. No crying.
The first girls in Little League. Title IX is the federal law that was passed as part of the Education Amendments of 1972. It prohibits sex-based discrimination in any school program that receives funding from the federal government. It was enacted as a follow-up to the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Representative Patsy Mink of Hawaii, a third-generation Japanese American, emerged as a leader in the House to protect the law, and it was later renamed Patsy T. Mink. Equal Opportunity in Education Act. The spotlight has shone most brightly on girls in sports, as it provides equal opportunity in athletics. Girls' participation over the years has been astounding. The children's poet J. Patrick Lewis celebrated with this poem, First Girls in Little League Baseball. The year was 1974, when Little Leaguers learned the score. President Ford took out his pen and signed a law that said from then on, women too would have the chance to wear the stripes and wear the pants. Now what you hear as flags unfurl is attaboy and attagirl!
Well, Costello, I'm going to New York with you. You know Bucky Harris, the Yankees manager, gave me a job just as long as you're on the team.
Look, Abbott, if you're the coach, you must know all the players.
Oh, I certainly do.
Well, you know, I've never met the guys, so you'll have to tell me their names, and then I'll know who's playing on the team.
Oh, I'll tell you their names, but you know, it seems they give these ball players nowadays very peculiar names.
You mean funny names?
Strange names, pet names, like Dizzy Dean.
His brother Daffy.
Daffy.
And their French cousin.
French?
Gouffet.
Gouffet. Well, let's see. We have on the bag who's on first, what's on second. I don't know who's on third.
That's what I want to find out.
I said, who's on first, what's on second. I don't know who's on third.
Are you the manager?
Yes.
And you don't know the fellas' names?
Yes.
But, well then, who's on first?
Yes.
I mean the fellow's name.
Who?
The guy on first.
Who?
The first baseman.
Who?
The guy playing the...
Who is on?
I'm asking you who's on first base.
That's the man's name.
That's whose name?
Yes.
Well, go ahead and tell me.
That's it?
That's who?
Yes.
Look, you got a first baseman.
Certainly.
Who's playing first?
That's right.
When you pay off the first baseman every month, who gets the money?
Every dollar of it.
All I'm trying to find out is the fellow's name on first base.
Who?
The guy that gets it.
That's it.
Who gets the money?
He does. Every dollar. Well, sometimes his wife comes down and collects it.
Whose wife?
Yes. What's wrong with that?
Look, all I want to know is when you sign up the first baseman, how does he sign his name?
Who?
The guy.
Who?
How does he sign?
That's how he signs.
Who?
Yes.
All I'm trying to find out is what's the guy's name on first base?
No, what's on second?
I'm not asking you who's on second.
Who's on first?
One base at a time.
Well, don't change the players around.
I'm not changing nobody.
Take it easy.
I'm only asking you, who's the guy on first base?
That's right.
Okay.
All right.
What's the guy's name on first base?
No, what's on second?
I'm not asking you who's on second.
Who's on first?
I don't know.
He's on third base, and we're not talking about him.
How did I get on third base?
Well, you mentioned his name.
If I mention the third baseman's name, who did I say is playing third?
No, who's playing first?
What's on first?
What's on second?
I don't know.
He's on third.
There I go, back on third base again. What? Would you just stay on third base and not go off of it?
All right.
Now,
What do you want to know?
who's the guy playing third base?
Why do you keep insisting on putting who on third base?
What am I putting on third?
No, what's on second?
I don't know who's on second.
Who's on first?
I don't know.
Third base.
Third base. Look, you got an outfield?
Sure.
What's the left fielder's name?
Why?
I just thought I'd ask you.
I just thought I'd tell you.
Then tell me who's playing left field.
Who's playing first?
I'm not... Stay out of the infield. I want to know what's the guy's name in left field.
No, what's on second?
I'm not asking you who's on second.
Who's on first?
I don't know. Third base. The left fielder's name?
Why?
Because.
Oh, he's center field.
Look, you got a pitcher on this team.
Sure.
What's the pitcher's name?
Tomorrow.
You don't want to tell me today?
I'm telling you now.
Then go ahead.
Tomorrow.
What time?
What time what?
What time tomorrow are you going to tell me who's pitching?
Now listen, who is
I'll
not
break
pitching?
your arm if you take who's on first. I want to know what's the pitcher's name.
What's on second?
I don't know. Third base. Got a catcher?
Certainly.
The catcher's name.
Today.
Today, and tomorrow's pitching.
Now you got it.
All we got is a couple of days on the team. You know, I'm a catcher too.
Oh, so they tell me.
I get behind the plate to do some fancy catching. Tomorrow's pitching on my team, and a heavy hitter gets up. Now the heavy hitter bunts the ball. When he bunts the ball, me, being a good catcher, I'm going to throw the guy out at first base. So I pick up the ball and throw it to who?
Now that's the first thing you said right.
I don't even know what I'm talking about.
That's all you have to do.
Is throw the ball to first base.
Yes.
Now who's got it?
Naturally.
Look, if I throw the ball to first base, somebody's got to get it. Now who has it?
Naturally.
Who?
Naturally.
Naturally?
Naturally.
So I pick up the ball and I throw it to naturally.
No, you don't. You throw it to who?
Naturally.
That's different.
That's what I said.
You're not saying it.
I throw the ball naturally.
You throw it to who?
Naturally.
That's it.
That's what I said.
Okay, you ask me.
I throw the ball to who?
Naturally.
Now you ask me.
You throw the ball to who?
Naturally.
That's it.
Same as you. Same as you. I throw the ball to who? Whoever it is drops the ball. The guy runs to second. Who picks up the ball? Throws it to what? What throws it to? I don't know. I don't know. Throws it back to tomorrow. Triple play. Another guy gets up and hits a long fly ball to because. Why? I don't know. He's on third and I don't give a darn.
What?
I said I don't give a darn.
Oh, that's our shortstop.
From the 1940s to 60s, Yogi Berra, an Italian immigrant son. Yogi Berra is widely regarded as one of the greatest catchers in baseball history. He played 19 seasons from 1946 to 1965 and has won 10 World Series championships, more than any other player in Major League Baseball history. The New York Yankees retired as number 8 in 1972.
He was born to hard-working Italian immigrant parents. My father came from the old country, and he didn't know what baseball was. He was ready to go to work. Yogi quit school after the 8th grade to help support the family. He served in the Navy as a gunner's mate in the Normandy landings during World War II, where he earned a Purple Heart.
He is known for his yogiisms like, it's deja vu all over again.
If people don't want to come to the ballpark, how the hell are you going to stop them?
Baseball is 90% mental, the other half is physical.
It ain't over till it's over.
The future ain't what it used to be.
Love is the most important thing in the world, but baseball is pretty good too.
Residents of Boston, Massachusetts, where there is a neighborhood called Mudville, claim it as the Mudville in Casey at bat. Residents of Stockton, California, which is known as Mudville prior to 1850, also lay claim to the inspiration of the book. Despite the rival claims, author Ernest Thayer said that the poem has no basis in fact. Casey at the bat.
The outlook wasn't brilliant for the Mudville 9 that day. The score stood 4-2, with but 1 inning more to play.
And then when Cooney's died at first, and Barrows did the same, a pall-like silence fell upon the patrons of the game.
A straggling few got up to go in deep despair. The rest clung to the hope for springs eternal in the human breast. They thought,
If only Casey could get better whack at that, we'd be put up even money now with Casey at the bat.
But Lynn preceded Casey, as did also Jimmy Blake. And the former was a hoodoo, while the later was a cake.
So upon that stricken multitude, grim melancholy sat. For there seemed but little chance of Casey getting to the bat.
But Flynn let drive a single to the wonderment on the wall, and Blake, the much despised, tore the cover off the ball.
And when the dust had lifted and men saw what had occurred, there was Jimmy safe at second and Flynn a hugging third.
Then from 5,000 shots and more, there rose a lusty yell. It rumbled to the valley, it rattled in the den.
It pounded on the mountain and recoiled upon the flats.
For Casey, mighty Casey, was advancing to the bat.
There was ease in Casey's manner as he stepped into his place.
There was pride in Casey's bearing and a smile in Casey's face.
And when, responding to the cheers, he lightly doffed his hat, no stranger in the crowd could doubt 'twas Casey at the bat.
10,000 eyes were on him as he rubbed his hands with dirt. 5,000 tongues applauded when they wiped him on his shirt.
Then while the writhing pitcher ground the ball into his hip, defiance flashed in Casey's eye. A sneer curved Casey's lip.
and now the leather-covered sphere came hurtling through the air. And Casey stood a-watching it in haughty grandeur there.
Close by the sturdy batsman, the ball upheated, sped.
That ain't my style, said Casey.
Strike one, the umpire said.
From the benches black with people, there went up a muffled roar, like the beating of the storm waves on a stern, distant shore.
Kill him! Kill the umpire!
Shouted someone from the stand, and it likely they have killed him, and that Casey raises him.
With a smile of Christian charity, great Casey's visage shone. He stilled the rising tumult. He bade the game go on.
He signaled to the pitcher, and once more the dun spear flew.
But Casey still ignored it, and the umpire said,
3-2! Fraud!
Cried the maddening thousands, and the echoed answer,
Fraud!
But one scornful look from Casey, and the audience was awed.
Here we go. They saw his face grow stern and cold. They saw his muscles strain. And they knew that Casey wouldn't let that ball go by again.
The sneer is gone from Casey's lip. His teeth are clenched in hate. He pounds when cruel violence is backed upon the plate.
And now the pitcher holds the ball, and now he lets it go.
And now the air is shattered by the force of Casey's blow.
Oh, somewhere in this favored land, the sun is shining bright.
The band is playing somewhere, and somewhere hearts are light.
And somewhere men are laughing, and somewhere children shout.
But there is no joy in Mudville.
Brady Casey hasn't struck out.
From Mudville, we move to the Oakland for the Moneyball, a film about the Oakland A's 2002 season.
Billy Beane, general manager of the Oakland A's, faced with the departure of 3-star players and Oakland's limited budget, has an epiphany one day when he must reinvent his team by outsmarting the richer ball clubs.
Joining him is Yale economics graduate Peter Brand, who uses statistical data to analyze and place values on the player whom the scouts have labeled as flawed, but who have game-winning potential.
The problem is that this isn't unfair games. There are rich teams, poor teams, and then there's us. And now we've been gutted. We're organ donors to the rich. The Red Sox took our kidneys and the Yankees took our heart. What if we've been wrong this whole time about what ingredients manufacture a win? What if this whole time we thought it was the chicken that made the chicken soup taste good when really it was the onions that made the chicken soup taste good? Onions are a lot cheaper than chicken, you see what I'm saying?
People who run baseball teams think in terms of buying players. The goal shouldn't be to buy players. What you want to buy is wins. To buy wins, you buy runs. Oakland's offense has exploded, scoring 40 runs in the last 4 games and extending our streak to an American League record going back to 1954.
This kind of thing, it's fun for the fans. It sells tickets and hot dogs. Doesn't mean anything.
Oh, Billy, we just won 20 games in a row.
And what's the point?
We just got the record.
I've been in this game a long time. I'm not in it for a record. I'm not in it for a ring. If we don't win the last game of the series, they'll dismiss us.
Oh, Billy.
I know these guys. I know the way they think. And they will erase us. And everything we've done here, none of it'll matter. Any other teams wins the World Series, good for them. They're drinking champagne. They get a ring. But if we win on our budget with this team, we'll have changed the game. And that's what I want. I want it to mean something.
It does mean something. It's about finding values of players that nobody else can see. People are overlooked for a variety of biased reasons and perceived flaws. Age, appearance, personality. I believe there is a championship team that we can afford because everyone else in baseball undervalues them, like an island of misfit toys.
In 2002, the Oakland A's won 20 consecutive games, setting an American League record, and went on to win the AL West. As Billy Beane said, how can you not be romantic about baseball?
September 25th, 2001, Yankee Stadium. New York City, bluest of the blue communities, is improbably rooting for George W. Bush because everything is riding on this pitch. So much symbolism, so much momentum. They want him to succeed because it means New York will succeed, America will succeed. It means they will get past this new terrible reality, no matter what it takes. Optimism, childlike faith. Bush gains the mound and gives the crowd a thumbs up. They roar. He stands motionless for a moment, and then with a quick look at the Yankee catcher, Jorge Posada, the president throws. It's a perfect strike. Yankee Stadium erupts. People from every political and economic persuasion are shouting and jumping for joy. The people in the stands are weeping out of sadness and out of hope. It's only a strike, but it was a perfect strike. And at that moment, that's all that mattered. Stephen?
Now listen, all of you, boys and ladies. I know you're not yellow. Smoke. You bang into fences until you drive me crazy. Rocky, you play 3 games with a broken hand, but your mental state is all into left field. Now listen to me. Baseball is only 1/2 skill. The other half is something else. Something bigger. You gotta have heart. All you really need is heart. When the odds are saying you'll never win, that's when the grin should start. You gotta have hope. Mustn't sit around and mope. Nothing's half as bad as it may appear. Wait till next year and hope. When your luck is bad and zero, get your chin above the floor. Mister, you can be a hero. You can open any door. There's nothing to it but to do it. You gotta have heart. Miles and miles and miles of heart. Always fine to be a genius, of course, but keep that old horse before the cart. Oh, you gotta have heart.
People will come, Ray. They'll come from Iowa for reasons they can't even fathom.
They'll turn into your driveway, not knowing for sure why they are doing it.
They will arrive at your door as innocent as children, longing for the past.
Of course, we won't mind if you look around, you'll say. It's only $20 per person.
And they will turn over the money without thinking about it, for it's money they have and peace that they lack.
And they will walk to the bleachers and sit in their short sleeves on a perfect afternoon.
And they'll find they have reserved seats somewhere along the baselines where they sat when they were children and cheered their heroes.
And they'll watch the game, and it'll be as they dip themselves in magic waters.
The memories will be so thick, they'll have to brush them away from their faces.
People will come, Ray. The one constant through all the years has been baseball.
America has rolled by like an army of steamrollers. It's been erased like a blackboard, rebuilt, and erased again.
But baseball has marked the time.
This field, this game, is a part of our past.
It reminds us of all that once was good and that could be again.
Oh, people will come, Ray. People will most definitely come.
And we thank all of you for coming.